women who present with advanced stage or metastatic ovarian cancer, which is the vast majority, over 75% will present with stage 3 or 4 disease. Those proportion of patients that present with stage 4 disease are usually managed with neoadjuvant chemotherapy. And the reason that's the case is because the intent is to help control the disease burden so that when we do explore them surgically at the time of an interval surgical evaluation, we're able to remove all of the visible tumor. What we don't want is to go in surgically and perform a surgery where we leave significant gross tumor behind because we believe that that's not therapeutically beneficial for the patient. Systemic chemotherapy in the frontline setting for patients with stage 4 disease is usually predicated on a backbone of combination carboplatin and paclitaxel, now most commonly given once again in a Q3-week regimen for both drugs. It can be given with the paclitaxel administered weekly based on the Japanese GOG study, and some providers are still using intraperitoneal chemotherapy, although after Gynecologic Oncology Group Protocol 252 was both presented and published, that has fallen away to some degree. One of the other areas of treatment strategy or approaches is incorporation of anti-angiogenic bevacizumab. Based on both GOG 218 and ICON 7, we know that bevacizumab in the front line leads to a meaningful improvement in progression-free survival. And there may be a signal based on the GOG 218 data as well as ICON 7, looking at the impact of bevacizumab plus chemotherapy in the front line for those stage 4 or high-risk patients. And they may benefit the most. With GOG 218, it was about a 10-month overall survival difference between the bevacizumab throughout and the control placebo arm. So for patients with stage 4 disease, it's traditionally chemotherapy or chemotherapy plus bevacizumab with maintenance bevacizumab. Most recently, we've also had exciting data, both based on presentations at ESMO or the European Society of Medical Oncology, and then the subsequent publications in the New England Journal of Medicine for both maintenance frontline niraparib in the frontline setting based on the PRIMA trial, or maintenance frontline combination olaparib plus bevacizumab based on the PAOLA-1 clinical trial. Both of those studies met their primary endpoints, showing a significant improvement in progression-free survival. Both of those have resulted in United States FDA approval of these maintenance strategies. So in someone who's newly diagnosed at this point in time with stage 4 disease, there are several options. The carboplatin and paclitaxel chemotherapy backbone will be integral, but then you layer onto that the opportunity for bevacizumab with maintenance bevacizumab alone, maintenance bevacizumab plus olaparib if that patient is homologous recombination deficient based on the FDA label, or maintenance niraparib as a single agent for all comers as an opportunity based on the US FDA label for the PRIMA trial. So we've now, in a short period of time, had several opportunities introduced to us in the maintenance frontline setting for patients with stage 4 ovarian cancer. When we talk about disease recurrence or ovarian cancer recurrence, one of the early decision trees is figuring out if this is a platinum sensitive or a platinum resistant disease recurrence. And that's really driven by the interval of time between completion of chemotherapy and recurrence of disease. Some of us are trying to avoid that dichotomous choice, and we talk about a platinum-free interval as a continuous variable. Nonetheless, if we talk about platinum-sensitive disease recurrence, which was reflected in the case discussed earlier, we are thinking about patients who've responded to their initial treatment, had a treatment-free interval of at least 6 months. And in those patients, again, a platinum-based combination regimen is the standard of care. But what we've also seen based on prior studies, Ariel 3, Solo 2, and Study 19, as well as NOVA, is that maintenance PARP inhibition in the platinum-sensitive recurrent space can result in a meaningful improvement in progression-free survival, particularly with a notable signal in the homologous recombination deficient patient populations. And so we know we have FDA approval for 3 PARPs in that setting, specifically olaparib, rucaparib, and niraparib as maintenance strategies in the platinum-sensitive recurrent setting for those patients who have a complete or partial response to their most recent platinum doublet combination. And we also need to remember that bevacizumab also has an approval in the platinum-sensitive recurrent setting as a maintenance strategy. And that's again based on efficacy data from GOG 213. So we have options about maintenance PARP or maintenance anti-angiogenic bevacizumab in this setting based on several factors, including how the patients responded to initial treatment, their performance status, and then options for subsequent therapy.